So what, we're going to have a banana.
I'm going to have another biscuit.
Jim had a nap, I went for a walk.
Beer is room temperature. Yeah.
I had a pork knuckle. That's not a euphemism. Hi folks, it's the History Biker here, and for the first time in about 18 months, maybe even 2 years, I'm going on a trip. The eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that I'm not on a bike, I'm in a car, and that's because I've just driven down to Essex from Norfolk to see my dad, because we are going on a trip together. It's a trip we've been talking about for about 4 or 5 years and finally got around to doing it. I've been trying to get my dad to do his bike licence in later life. I've been campaigning on that for several years. To no avail, but finally he's taken the plunge and bought himself a camper van. So we're going away in the van. So after a 4 AM start, we're on a very noisy train. Plan for today is that we're popping out of Calais, and instead of turning left towards Ypres, we're actually going to turn right, and we're going to head over to a section of the Atlantic Wall called Battery Tot, which is about half an hour from Calais. We're going to have an hour or so poking around there before we fly back east, and we go to Ypres, where we're based for 4 days. I'll see you in a tick. So we are here at Battery Tot, which is a gun emplacement, part of the Atlantic Wall on the North French coast by Calais. We're standing on top of a Leopold gun, 280mm railway gun.
Which is massive, isn't it?
It's enormous.
It's aiming right at Blighty.
Yeah, and we can, probably won't be able to see that, but you can very clearly see the Dover coast behind us, which shows you how close we are. The main gun in that building was 480mm and could fire 42 kilometres. The British coast is 30 kilometres away, so that gives you a sense of scale. What do you think, Jim?
Well, having just been inside there, I have to say the atmosphere is pretty dark, actually.
Really, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how much of that is my preconceptions that I brought here with me, but it's not great in there.
It's
but
dank.
Fascinating.
Really fascinating. And yeah, the Canadians took this 29th of September 1944, and I feel like we're not that far from the Normandy beaches, but I guess we are. But it gives you a sense of how long it took them to get up the coast. There's a panel down there that says that the Canadians offered the Germans surrender at 6:30 in the morning, and the battle started at 6:45. So I'm guessing they said no.
And I think they surrendered about 10:30.
Yeah. So
isn't it? Yeah.
You know, and they took 1,500 prisoners with a loss of only 5 dead. So
on a positive note, it's a cracking little museum.
It's really
stuffed full of really interesting exhibits.
Yeah, it's really cool, and apparently it gets no subsidy from the French government at all. It's entirely private. So genuinely, if you're coming across from Dover on a completely unrelated visit, 20 minutes, turn right and drive for 20 minutes and you'll be here. I had no idea it's here. It's brilliant. So what, we're going to have a banana, have some water, get on the road and go to Ypres, shall we?
Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
See you in a tick.
I genuinely thought that was a cracking little museum. Really brought it home to you, the sort of the individual experience, ordinary folk.
Quite good, you know.
Ooh. Feels a bit sacrilegious enjoying such luxury in such a...
What do you think? We should be having hardtack biscuits?
Yes.
Thoughts on Vimy Ridge then?
I had no idea about the contribution that the Canadians gave to the effort. I mean, they were phenomenal.
Punch above their weight. They did in the Second World War as well. Obviously been here before, but didn't have the time because I was on the bike. We spent some time looking at the shell craters and...
You didn't go underground last time, did you?
No, well, there was no one here when we came last time. So yeah, nice to go and... I say nice. Insightful to go actually down into the tunnels and just get a sense of the kind of the claustrophobia. And
I didn't think I was going to be able to handle it, but it was actually well illuminated. And
but when he switched the lights off and said this is what it would have looked like...
Oh, that
was horrible.
I was shocked how big those mine craters were.
Yeah.
Huge.
There's one...
Must be nearly 20 metres across, some of them.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's a bit of a... Not a myth, but that at points the German lines and the Allied lines were metres apart. But to see what 25 metres actually looks like and how close... Yeah, you just lob a grenade.
Exactly.
It's you know, you could shout at them.
You could hear each other sneeze.
Yeah. Walking around earlier, I kept thinking by mid-1917 actually it got a lot more professional. The problem was you'd gone through all the experienced people and you're into conscripts.
Baldricks.
A bit, yeah. So a lot of those kind of tropes do come from Blackadder, but that kind of creeping barrage where the artillery moves forward, infantry follow, what that would have been like here, going up the hill. And over, so it was a 4-mile front. And they had 4 divisions.
Yeah.
It'd be elbow to elbow. That's a lot of people in a small space. That's probably...
And if my...
30 or 40,000 soldiers.
Yeah. And if my visualisation of it's correct from the talk we've just had, the Canadian army was on a rather gradual slope.
Yeah.
And the German army had their backs to quite a sheer drop into the valley beyond.
Yeah.
So once they did capitulate, that would have been... end of the story.
Yeah, and then having the audacity to counter-attack against that sheer hill.
Yeah.
I have no idea whether you can hear me with the wind or not, but we just had to head back to the campsite and thought we should probably stop at the Canadian cemetery to pay your respects. And as ever at these places, it's gut-wrenching. And the thing that shocked me most, and I think probably for Jim as well, is that at least half the headstones in here just say a soldier of the Great War. And as a proportion, that's just mind-boggling that so many are completely unknown. And the one that really got me is there's 2 headstones. These are all in neat regimented rows, as they always are. There's 2 headstones that are really close together. Can't fathom why, so I went and asked the person walking around, and she sort of said, well, they were found together, and shrugged. So I think we can infer from that what was left was indistinguishable. Clearly 2 soldiers, but not sure who was who, which just makes you think. Anyway.
And actually standing on top of the hill by the monument, it's quite surprising, isn't it? How far down it is into that.
For 20 miles, can't you?
Yeah.
And they'd have occupied all the defensive positions that weren't completely destroyed.
Yeah.
They'd have just occupied them, so they had ready-made.
Yeah. I'm going to have another biscuit.
Hi folks, welcome to day 3 of our little Belgian adventure. We're still in Ypres, we're not going anywhere. Had another fairly decent night in the fun bus. Kleiner Festspielwagen. It's very gold, isn't it? What did we do yesterday? Went to Vimy Ridge yesterday. Really very, very good day. I thought we'd spend a couple of hours there, and we ended up spending 3 or 4 hours there. Jim and I were able to really kind of properly linger and spend some time there, which was really good. Went down in the tunnels, the communication trenches between the lines, you know, enable you to get to and from them without being shot at. And that was quite eerie, but very good. Glad we did that. Looked at the memorial, looked at the graveyards, walked around the trenches. Seeing the only 25 metres between the German and the Canadian front line is just like hell. You could just throw stones and grenades at each other and shoot at each other blind. It's just mad. Anyway, yeah, and then we came back here. Jim had a nap, I went for a walk, and then we wandered into town thinking, let's get some food, but not get our hopes up. And we found a place called De Ruffelier, proper old school Belgian pub, which was pretty cool. I had a pork knuckle, that's not a euphemism, and then a couple of really nice proper Belgian beers. And lo and behold, I slept really well last night. So that's the secret to a good night's sleep when you're in a camper van, apparently, is to just get pissed. So today the plan is a short day. We're going to drive up to a place called Diksmuide, which is another Belgian town, very small town. It's right on the edge of a dike. No laughing. There's a Belgian trench system there and a little visitor centre apparently. Never been there before, but we'll go and check it out. I think it'll be quite thought-provoking because you can look across the water at where the German line would have been. So that would be quite interesting. And then we're going to come back here and then we're just going to spend some time wandering around Ypres, I think. So quick spot of breakfast, a coffee, and then we'll go. See you in a tick.
Cold outside. I preferred the visitor centre to the death trench weather-wise, but the visitor centre was really, really well curated again and brilliant. Yeah, once again.
I was expecting, but I did read it's all run by the Belgian Ministry of Defence, which is why that woman had rank sliders on her shoulder, I think.
Oh, I wondered why she got those little epaulette.
I mean, that's a cushy job, isn't it? If you're in the military and you just sit behind a desk.
She got the Advanced Customer Service Medal.
The map upstairs was quite thought-provoking, seeing how close the lines were and where they breached the dike and flooded the plain and everything.
Yeah.
I've been to a few of those places where they've kind of reconstructed the trenches with concrete sandbags, and it's almost like a, what's the word? Facsimile. It's a bit...
Yeah, but there was a lot
theme
more.
Park is almost my worry.
There was a lot more left of the original structures today than yesterday.
Yeah.
And it might be because perhaps the aerial bombardment wasn't so extensive as it was on Vimy Ridge, but yeah, there's lots of bunkers and things still intact, which we could go into, which was really nice.
Well, some of the posters inside the museum made it look like they've been doing... That's been a tourist attraction since the interwar years, like the mid-20s. People were going to look at it.
Right.
So maybe it's been looked after better.
Yeah,
perhaps.
Yeah. And I thought actually the graphics on the infographics, were absolutely brilliant where they were placed. So you could stand beside the old black and white photograph and look at what you were looking at.
It was placed really well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You could see the door. Oh, that doorway's there, and that guy stood there.
Yeah.
Try another biscuit. Morning. Welcome to day 4 of 5 here in Ypres. We had a great day yesterday. We spent a good few hours up at Diksmuide, one of the few Belgian preserved trenches north of Ypres. Really, really good. It's, well, good. feel bad using language like that, but very, very interesting because it's right on the edge of the river Ypres, and yeah, the trench just follows the contours of the river, obviously. And then on the opposing bank, and you know, further north, there's the German trenches, which are not there anymore. But because of the water table, you can see how it would have been just sludge for years, just horrible. But we spent a good couple of hours walking around, exploring the trenches, going into the bunkers, and the visitor centre is absolutely brilliant. There's a little museum in there, and when you go up onto the top floor, they've got a huge map that's an aerial photograph taken, I don't know, maybe during the war or just shortly afterwards. So you can actually sort of in some small way kind of walk around where you've just been and say, okay, well, I was stood there, which means the Germans were there and the Belgians were there, and it's a point in that battle where they blew the levee with like 400 kilos of TNT or something just to breach it, to stop the Germans from taking it. So there's just a floodplain, and so that was really, really good. And then we came back to the campsite, and then we went to had a break from war stuff for a change, and we went to a brewery, Kazematten Brewery. That was really cool. It's a little microbrewery, so you're kind of in these sort of arched underground cellars, and it's a brewery. So we had a tour around there. Chap Rudy taught us all about how beer's made and the history of beer, and clearly a very passionate guy who knows his stuff. And then we sat down afterwards, and he just kept bringing us, you know, this is the Ypres Times Blonde, which is a 6.5%, and this is a 7.8%, and this is an 8 point, and the percentages kept going up and up, and Jim and I were looking at each other like, this could get messy. Yeah, but really good. And they've got a their beer range is all named Ypres Times, which is the name of a sort of satirical newspaper that was printed in those very basements during the war, which is great. And then a spot of dinner, another beer, and back in time for tea and medals. So the plan for today is to head to Tyne Cot. So if you know nothing else about the First World War, there's a chance you might have heard of it. It's a huge British cemetery on the edge of town, which yeah, sort of feels like one of those pilgrimages that as a history nerd I probably should make, and I've never been before. And then back into town, we're going to have a look at the Flanders Fields Museum, which is in the Cloth Hall, which is a very famous building in the centre of Ypres. And then we're going to buy some chocolate and beer. So we'll have a bite to eat, get washed up, pack the van away and head off. I'll see you in a tick. What could go wrong? Oh, textbook. It's instinct, you can't teach that. Let's go. No idea when to open
Third guy, Nicholas Breton, age 28. Nathaniel Charles Hardwick, age 42. Ambrose William Church, age unknown. Noel Stafford Wright, age 18.
What did you think of the roll call of casualties, the way that had been?
It was like a metronome, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it? And a photograph. How much work went into that? And it reminded me of is it a roll call? Anyway, what they do at Ground Zero after 9/11, you know, how to honour those names, those people. Yeah. I think it's very appropriate the way they've done it.
I'm glad we managed to find that Mersey chap as well. Okay, he doesn't have a grave, but it's in a small way quite a nice little acknowledgement of an individual rather than the masses. It's kind of more about the human experience and the human drama.
I enjoyed reading, talking of relatives, some of the little messages that had been left on those little British Legion crosses, just in biro, a little message of thanks or whatever, you know. I enjoyed reading them. Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of silver haired, you know, couples with the wife being, you know, dragged around battlefields.
Come on, love, we're going to another war grave.
Fucking cemetery. But in amongst that, there's families
Yeah.
with toddlers and
Yeah.
you know, teenagers, and it gives me some confidence that I'm not going to
It's,
be the last generation
yeah.
that's interested.
And
in
the
this.
visitor centre, from that aspect, was very well curated again and educational. I could imagine taking
Yeah.
a young person there, just walk around the visitor centre. This is what this is all about.
Because that picture I saw of the aerial photograph of the Tyne Cot farm in August 1917, and you press the button and it does October 1917, exactly the same picture, and there's nothing. There's no roads, there's no trees, there's nothing. There's just thousands of shell holes filled with water.
Yeah. Time for another biscuit, I think.
Yeah. Good morning. It's our last day in Belgium today. I'm just wandering from our campsite, Urban Gardens, into Ypres town centre, and you get some souvenirs for the kiddies. I don't know what kind of World War 1 battlefield souvenir is suitable for a 5-year-old, but we'll see. Fantastic day yesterday, very sombre and moving, as is often the case with trips like this, but finally got to Tyne Cot. I mean, there's not a lot you can say about these places without sounding quite cliche, but Tyne Cot is huge. It's the largest Commonwealth War Graves cemetery, I believe, in the world, and there are 12,000 British and Commonwealth soldiers buried there, and another 35,000 commemorated on the wall. So those 35,000 have no known grave, so their bodies were never recovered, which is tragic enough on its own. The thing that really got me was two things that really got me. The first was, right in the centre of the cemetery there is a selection of kind of higgledy-piggledy graves that aren't in the neat regimented rows like the other several thousand that are there. And that's because those are the original graves from when Tyne Cot, which is named after a nearby farm that the Brits half-jokingly called Tyne Cottage. That was a field dressing station, so if you were injured in the front line, you'd be sent rearwards to get patched up. For those that died, to begin with anyway, they were sort of just buried nearby in sort of very shallow graves often. So those are the original graves, and then over the years, particularly post-war, it was what they came to call concentration cemeteries. So where bodies were found subsequently, they were brought to one location, the idea being that you'd be buried with your comrades near to the place where you died. The other thing that I found really quite arresting was right in the centre, there's two somewhat random German graves. So 2 German soldiers buried at Tyne Cot beside 12,000 of their former enemy. And then we decided that was probably enough for one day, so we came into town and we did the Flanders Fields Museum, which is underneath or in the cloth hall. Very well put together museum. It assumes no knowledge, but it didn't feel, not patronising, but it didn't feel unnecessary visiting if you're a bit of a history buff, so that's worth doing. A good couple of hours walking around there. And we felt a little war weary yesterday afternoon, so we had a coffee, sorted the van out, and then we went back into town for more dinner at, I think it's pronounced de Ruffelen, which apparently is Flemish for well worker. Alright, and then for our last evening we had a nightcap at a little bar called Earl, which is Flemish for owl, and they have 30 odd different beers on tap, all very, very good. Plan for today then, like I said, I'm going to get some souvenirs for the kids, might get a waffle, going to pack the van up, and then we're driving about an hour west before we go to Calais to a place called La Coupole near a town called Vizerne. Because at La Coupole there is a V2 launch site, so we're skipping forward 30 years, 35 years-ish, to the Second World War to have a look at the place where V2 rockets were launched. Apparently there's a planetarium there, and I'm not interested in all that shit. So yes, we'll head over there, spend a couple of hours poking around in a cupola, looking at some V2 stuff. And then that's it, we're going to head back to Coquelles to get on the train, and that'll be us done. So, get my souvenirs and I'll be on my way. would you sum up our trip?
I would sum it up with, I've enjoyed every minute of it, really. Yeah,
Good.
every minute. Yeah.
Could have been worse.
Could have been worse. Oops. Apart from the power outages. How would you sum it up?
Oh, it's been brilliant. It's the first time in a long time where I've actually sort of properly decompressed. And
that's the
we haven't
decompression
announced.
sound.
That's all the time we have. Yeah, no, I've had a great time, and I think it was just the right level of activity
Yeah.
and the right level of sitting around doing
Yeah.
fuck all,
Yeah.
drinking nice beer.
Yeah, the beer in Belgium. We both really like Belgian beer, but normally we go to the supermarket. But when we were up on Vimy Ridge, it just set the mood and set the tone. The last stop on the way here to the shuttle, that was a bit weird, wasn't it? What's it called? I know it's a bunker. Is it called?
La Coupole.
Oh, the cupola.
Yeah,
the
so
dome.
the cupola.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of those places where I wanted to go to be there and to do that thing I do where I touch the wall
Yeah.
to kind of touch the history. And Tyne Cot, I'm really glad I've finally seen that. It's been on my list for a while.
That was something of a highlight for me, actually. And finding a lad from Mersey on the commemorative wall.
Actually, the proper highlight for me has been spending some time with my dad.
Oh, bless you.
I really
That's
mean
rather
that.
nice. Yeah, it's
We
been
don't
great.
get to
It's
do a lot
been
of this sort of stuff together.
really good father and son time. First rate boys trip. I've run out of biscuits.
No, you haven't. No,
Oh, okay.